When it comes to matters environment and conservation, often we have arguments for politicians, arguments from lobbyists and things of that nature. At the heart of today's debate is the motion that reads, poverty should be a secondary concern to the degradation of the environment. I read the motion again, poverty should be a secondary concern to the degradation of the environment. Proposing and opposing this motion today is Mwala School versus Kasikeu Boys, here for the Lower Eastern debates, and all the best to both teams. I've been your host, Jane. Team proposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
An ovum fuses with a sperm to make a zygote. And today we have been provided by an ovum, and we are here to produce a sperm that they may fuse and produce the best zygote. And this zygote will state that poverty should be her primary concern to the degradation of the environment. My name is Kelvin Sami from Kasikeu Boys High School, standing firmly before you, ready to propose the motion that says that poverty should be a secondary concern to the degradation of our environment. First, what is poverty? Poverty is the act of being poor. Poverty is lack of resources. Secondary concern. This is a less important thing compared to another. Degradation of our environment. Degradation of environment is to destroy or to damage things which surround you. What is environment? In simple terms, environment is all the things that surround you. In other terms, environment is where human, plants, and animals live. First, how can poverty be the primary concern to the degradation of our environment, while we have other main concerns like natural causes? We have other concerns like natural causes, improper land use planning and development, and overpopulation and overexploitation of resources. First, let me begin with natural causes. Examples of natural causes: volcanic eruptions. Mount Krakatoa in Indonesia erupted in 1883, causing a land destruction of 3,000 miles away. Imagine an eruption occurring in a country, causing a land destruction of 3,000 miles away. Imagine Mount Kenya erupting right now and causing a damaging of land of 3,000 miles away. Another effect is it caused a tsunami which killed 3,000 people. It caused a tsunami which killed 3,000 people. These people died, and their family were left to adapt another environment of living without them. Is that poverty which has caused them to adapt a new environment, or it is a volcanic eruption? Mount Santa Maria in Guatemala erupted in 25th October of 1902. It killed 5,000 people, damaged a land of 5.5 kilometers squared. The ashes from the eruptions darkened the skies of Guatemala in 19 days, and these ashes extended into San Francisco. A good example is a mountain, Mount Elgon, Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Kenya. I know you know those mountains. Example is Mount Kilimanjaro. Mount Kilimanjaro erupting and causing a dark smoke, that is the ashes which are in the sky. Imagine those ashes extending up to here in Machakos. Like for example, right now we have our atmosphere polluted with ashes. These ashes will make us not to breathe good oxygen, not to breathe a pure air. They will pollute the air. Is this poverty that has polluted the air, or it is an eruption from a mountain? Another point is that improper land use planning and development. The unplanned consumption of lands into urban settings, mining areas, housing development projects, office spaces, shopping malls, industrial sites, parking areas, and road networks. Example, people at the river area, they are constructing industries which are emitting smoke to the environment, and this smoke pollutes our air. Is this poverty, or it is industrialization that has made the pollution of air? And these industries belong to rich men, not to poor men. A poor man cannot afford to construct a industry. Thank you.
Team opposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
First of all, I'll start by giving my own opinion of poverty. Poverty is the state of not having enough incentives for your own needs, and the lack of means to earn more incentives. I would also want to state that these people are the causes of these people who die out of the natural causes don't have any other means to evacuate from their homes. I mean, like now imagine being told that there is a volcanic eruption that is going to take place in this part. Will you leave your home to go to somewhere that you don't know? You don't have the money to buy another land. And now, my name is Ndonda Halvin from Mwala School, and I'd like to oppose the motion that states that poverty should be a secondary concern to the environmental degradation. By any chance, have you ever asked yourself what life would be without poverty? And if poverty was eradicated from our society, will that lead to a decrease in the environmental degradation? Actually, I would say yes. Poverty has caused people to put more pressure on the environment through means of like over-exploitation. Like now, for example, a research was done by the World Bank, and about 9.2 of the population in the world, that is of about 7.9 billion people, live in extreme poverty. Live in extreme poverty of less than $2.2 in a day. And in the USA alone, about 11.6% of the population live in poverty, that is as at 2021. This is gotten through from the platform https://www.worldvision.org.com. Yes. I would like to say also that poverty is a challenge to the universe. According to that research conducted, you also realize that poverty has long-term effects on both the developing and the developed countries, like our superpower, the USA. USA, you know that it is one of the most industrialized, and so it is not. And so, I want you to think of this. Can you assume that and take an example of states like Nigeria, Kenya? We are developing, we have our slums. And then you compare it with the USA. Poverty, therefore, should be, and I'll also have a question to my brother. Is solving the environmental problems more important than saving human lives? With that, I would like to say, thank you.
Thank you very much. Second speaker, team proposition, you have 3 minutes.
The leading countries today in the production of nuclear energy are Russia, the United States of America, China, and the Republic of North Korea. Relatedly, the most polluted river in the world is known as River Taka, and it is found in Russia. My name is Paul Munene, and I stand before you to sternly propose the motion that poverty should be a secondary concern to the degradation of our environment. Have you realized anything in common about the countries that I've just mentioned? Well, these are economic powers. These are countries with far much better economic standards compared to us, developing countries, for example, Kenya. This point brings out 2 aspects. Aspect number 1, the mismanagement of funds by economically stable countries so that they can produce nuclear energy, which has proven to have disastrous effects on our environment. Those of you who don't understand the effects of nuclear energy can draw good examples from the Nagasaki-Hiroshima bombing in 1948. 75 years later, imagine, 75 years later, the effect is still felt, from children with deformities to land that cannot produce anything. Isn't this degradation of the environment? And has poverty caused it? Well, no. It has been caused by the mismanagement of funds by economically stable countries and the mismanagement of nuclear energy. That brings me to my point number 2, industrialization and urbanization. In the race to produce energy, countries, or rather states all over the world, are emitting waste products into the environment, ranging from poisonous gases to non-biodegradable waste products. Well, let's draw a good example from our capital city, Nairobi. We have over 750 factories and over 2 million vehicles in Nairobi. Imagine 2 million vehicles, each vehicle emitting 24 cubic centimeters of carbon dioxide every minute. Simple arithmetic. I leave that to you. What does this bring me to? It brings me to the aspect of release of poisonous gases to our environment by these industries. These industries are emitting carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and sulfur 6 oxide to the environment. Well, I would like to talk about the points that my opposers has bring out. He is drawing points out of thin air. He has no facts to prove that poverty is a main degradation to the environment. He is drawing points out of thin air with no logical explanations and no facts to support them. Surely, poverty cannot be. Poverty is not a primary concern, or rather, it is a secondary concern. That brings me to my point number 3: the aspect of deforestation. Since the end of the Great Ice Period, the world has lost a third of its forest. That amounts to over 2 billion hectares of land lost. We have lost 2 billion hectares of forest in our land. What is this bringing me to? It is bringing me to that. Poverty is not a primary concern. It is rather a secondary concern. When things like this, when things like industrialization, when things like mismanagement of nuclear waste, when things like urbanization and industrializations are being talked about today, poverty cannot be termed as an primary concern to the degradation of environment. We are all environmentalists. We understand this. Thank you.
Second speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. Well, to oppose what my brother has just said, you say we have plastic, non-degradable products being created, and then in one way or another, we will have to use these products, milk cartons, packets, bread packets, essential necessities to all everyone in their daily lives. So I ask you, you say that we use this, we create them, and you say that the poor does not come first. Once we use this, where do you expect this? Where do you expect these pieces of plastic to go? Where, I ask. Plastic is a non-degradable item. And how do the poor solve this? They have no another way than to get rid of this way. They ban this plastic as a common way used in various countries, such as Kenya, our own country. We ban plastic as a way to get rid of them. But what do we do? Why do we do this? We lack enough money to get rid of them. As you know, plastic is a recyclable item, but do we have such facilities to recycle these our items? My name is Anwar Muhyiddin from Mwala School, here to oppose the motion that says poverty should be a secondary concern to environmental degradation. Fun fact, my name actually means ray of light, and I do hope to be that ray of light to my young brothers who dare say otherwise. On to my first point is social justice. Prioritizing the environment is rather a selfish act as humans, rather than considering poverty. We have various communities that are affected by claiming to protecting the environment. I give you an example of residents who lived in Mau Forest. These residents were evacuated from their homes that they had built in the Mau Forest. And then they were quickly evacuated by the government. And why? Oh, we plan to protect the environment. Oh, we do this, we do this, just to protect the environment. Ladies and gentlemen, these people came here. Why? They lacked the funds to get proper housing, buildings with roofs and such. They came there as a way of, as the only source of refuge to them. When we send this, when the poor lack, they will use whatever they have. That is, you say deforestation and such. These are the poor will do in whatever they can to live. They will cut down trees as a source of fuel, as a source of heat, energy, basic necessities. These people do. It is not a choice. Nobody makes the choice of being poor. My dear brothers, you want to tell me that you dare pick trees over human life? A tree, if a branch is cut down, it will grow. What about a human life? I think this is a very selfish act when we say that the environment does come first instead of poverty. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Third speaker, team proposition, you have 3 minutes.
Environment. Conserve me. Environment, it cries for it to be conserved. And that's why, from Kasikeu boys, I'm Neville Njau, firmly proposing the motion, poverty should be a secondary concern to the degradation of the environment. Firstly, my opposers said that the bread packets are from that the poor are using. Then I'm like, aren't the bread packets coming from the industries? He told us that the poor are burning plastics. Are they not coming from the industries? So it is the industrialization which is the main leading to the degradation of the environment. It is not poverty. Looking at an angle was lead to the degradation of the environment. A good example, it is the war between Ukraine and Russia. If you just look recently, that is on the 18th of June 2023. 18th of June 2023, the Russian planted explosives which damaged and blew off the Kakovka Dam in Ukraine. And now the Kakovka Dam was blown. There was massive flooding. Many people and houses were swept away. There are also outbreak of waterborne diseases. And also the land is waterlogged. And what will you say about that, ladies and gentlemen? Is that not environmental degradation? In conjunction to that, when we look at an angle, what my second proposer said, that the superpowers are using nuclear energy. And that brings me to what happened on 26th of April, 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster in the northern Ukraine, where now there was a nuclear accident because of poor governance, because of the poor management of the nuclear reactor. The cooling system was not well, just because of poor management. So now it is also another poor management that is leading to the environmental degradation, because people were evacuated from the area because of the radiations. And to date, there is no flora and fauna in that place. No one can dwell in that region. In fact, people had to be evacuated 50 kilometers away. So kindly, let's not mitigate other factors in preference to poverty. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Third speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Serikali tafadhali. Government please. This was a cry of a woman who was aired in the news by 22nd of April 2012. And this woman was crying because his property and the whole family was carried away by floods. My question is, if this woman had the ability to go and build houses in a stable place, to go and build houses in a town, as Tony House, wouldn't this woman have, would her property have gone too with floods? My name is Nehemiah Mwendwa from Mwala School, here to to oppose the motion that says that poverty is a second concern to the environmental degradation. One question I want to pose to the second proposer. I have a question. How can the poor conserve the environment without funds? They are poor, they have nothing to offer. How can they conserve the environment? They need help. The government should intervene and give them funds and help them in providing for them. They are dying. How do you want them to survive? How can they conserve environment? They have no strength. How do you want them to survive? They have nothing to survive with, and you want them to survive. Secondly, you are saying that cars are the only ones which emit gases which pollute the environment. I have a question. In every country which has developed, we are using coal and fuels. Does these fuels, as we cook, don't they emit smoke? Don't they emit gases which lead to the environmental pollution? What are you saying? Another thing about deforestation. You are talking about deforestation. When there is deforestation, now how do you want the poor to survive? They have no other and any other mean to earn their income. They have only to earn their income through deforesting the environment. When they are not burning the charcoal, what are they going to use? Are they going to die because of anger? Or what do you want them to use? Now, industrialization. The industries which you are talking about, come on, you are wrong. The industries which are the ones which create job opportunities to the poor. Where do you want the poor to go and get job opportunities? In Kenya currently, we have no job opportunities for many. You must bribe. Where do you want them to go? Another thing, you are talking about rivers. They are polluted by people, by eruptions. How are they polluted by people and eruptions? But I have a question. The people who live in slums in Nairobi, because they are poor, they are waste. What do? They throw to the rivers. What are you telling me? That eruptions only? Come on, sorry. May the Lord bless you.
Team proposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
I'm disappointed on how my opposers, you were given a circuit, but in turn you turned out to be non-conductors. And that's why we as Kasikeu boys, we stood in the gap to complete the circuit so that the ammeter can read, poverty should be a secondary concern to the degradation of the environment. We said about industrialization, and we said vehicles in Nairobi. Now, is there coal in Nairobi? Kindly, you never got me well. It is in Nairobi. There is no coal in Nairobi. Again, this industrialization has led to what? You also told us about cars. We said vehicles. It is a collective term for cars, motorcycles, and all the rest. Again, this industrialization is leading to the emission of carbon dioxide, which in turn causes global warming, which in turn also causes the melting of the icebergs, leading to the rise of the cyclones, which currently were in Malawi. Kindly, my opposers, let's join together to form one group, one team, which will stop mitigating other factors and consider all the factors which are leading to the environmental degradation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Team Opposition. You have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
I would like to say that 77% of the pollution or of the waste which is in the environment cannot be recycled. Why? Because the nation is in a poor state to earn a living, so that the living that we incur, we are using them to help the poor, because in Kenya currently we have many people like 3/4 are poor. They are unable to meet their daily needs. Another one, global perspective. I can say that all over the world, it is true that poverty is a global influence, or poverty is a global concern. What about environmental degradation? Environmental degradation is only a concern of only one area. That is, in a region is where you find mountains. If Mount Kenya could erupt, my friends, it could erupt only with the regions and affect the regions near Mount Kenya. But poverty is affecting everyone. Why? If I'm coming, for instance, from Nairobi and I live at Machakos, I will come from Nairobi because I'm lacking anything to feed on, and come for the people of Machakos. I steal from them to earn a living. So my point remains that we should join together and first fight poverty, and that we may remain united, that if we fight poverty, the people will have strength, they will have energy to go and fight against environmental degradation. How can I fight environmental degradation? Why I'm angry.
Yeah, thank you very much. Battle well fought, both teams laying very serious cases to support their arguments. I'm going to go specific, and my colleague will give some general comments. From the proposers, Kelvin, your introduction, you gave us an example of the ovum and sperm analogy. A clear link was needed on how this supports the motion at hand. That is very, very important. Then you gave several examples like overpopulation, poor policies, industrialization. Those were good for giving you marks for mastery of content. However, from the judge's desk, we felt that statistics, figures, and sources to support your arguments could have made you have a better score. So there is need for you to state your sources, otherwise somebody will accuse you of cooking the information you're saying. And it also shows that you've done some research. And then you are a debater with a lot of potential. Just work on the research bit and the coherency of your argument, and will be good to go. Paul, you're a very passionate debater. The role of the second speaker is to rebuttal, and you fairly did that. However, you need to specifically identify what the other speaker has said so that you can hammer it. So you need to clearly mention what was said, and then you bring your argument. That was not coming out so clearly. You just made some general comments, and as a second speaker, kindly take note of that. We are giving these comments because we will be proceeding to the next level, and we expect to see these things being worked on. Otherwise, you have this powerful style, good use of verbal and nonverbal cues. You're a debater with a lot of potential, so keep it rocked. Melville, you're a passionate debater. You brought out the concept of war, Russian versus Ukraine, to support your argument. You also brought out the issue of nuclear disasters to back up your argument. Good use of rhetorical questions. So we need you to, again, as a third speaker, because you are like the engine of the team that is going to wind with a very powerful argument, you need to also bring on board more global examples, regional examples, and even closer home. And then you link them back to the motion at hand. But you're a debater with a lot of potential, and with more research and practice, you definitely will crack it. Alvin, the role of the first speaker is to define the terms and lay the argument for the team. Avoid rebuttaling as a first speaker. You had some fair use of statistics and figures to back up your arguments, and good use of rhetorical questions, which gave you marks on the passion and conviction and style and presentation. However, you need to at least work on your coherency of argument. That is really important. Anwar, you equally need to work on the coherency of your argument. Do not use fillers too much. Like sometimes it shows that you did not really note the points down, and you're taking quite some time to think about it. So take note of what the other speaker said, because as a second speaker, again, your role is to rebuttal. However, the Mau Forest example you gave was well linked to the motion. There is need for you to do more research so that you can give statistics and figures and relevant examples to back up your argument. Nehemiah, you're a passionate debater. Very good use of rhetorical questions to engage the audience in matters logic. The example of how can the poor conserve the environment when they don't have money was a very good tactical rebuttal to give. And then please address the audience. Do not address your opponents. Look at the camera. You know, this is public speaking, and that is part and parcel of style and presentation. Otherwise, may the most outstanding team take it home.
So first, I'd like to just congratulate all of you for the points that you've made. As Judge Jomo said, I'm just going to make a general comment, which I think he has already mentioned when he was giving you feedback. Mine is just to say that there are points that were made that were very logical, and I agree with them, but then the statistics were not there. And some of the statistics that were put in place are 5 years, were for 5 years ago, and there is also recent studies. So before we present, I think it's important that we get the most recent statistics for our arguments to stand out better. But congratulations, and may the best team win.
And we have come to the end of this session. I have the results here with me, and I will just go straight ahead and announce the results. The judges have awarded Kasikeu boys with 63%. A round of applause, please, for Kasikeu boys. And the judges have awarded Mwala school with 62%. A round of applause, please, for Mwala school. And the winners of this debate are Kasikeu boys with 63%. Thank you very much to both teams. We have come to the end of this debate for the Lower Eastern Region debates. It is goodbye from us here at the Debate Circle. Remember to check our social media handles for more of this conversation. That is on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and also on Threads at the Debate Circle. Kwaheri.